But I thought this would be a little bit more roomier for us, so there we go. So we're going to go ahead and pray and get started. Dear Lord Father, thank you for this class. I pray for us. Help us to be good students of this material. Help us to learn this language, use it for your honor. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. If you don't mind me, I'm just going to keep peeking out a little bit, making sure I don't miss anyone. We're good. Hey, if anyone pops around who's supposed to be here, say what? Appreciate it. All right, got Pastor Rich keeping an eye out for us. That'll work out well.
You guys got enough room?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. How's the temperature in here?
Hot.
All right, hold on it down.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Is it just me?
So, I was saying, I am never
Okay,
a
because
good
nobody
judge.
else said anything.
I
and
am
I'm like,
never a good judge of how the temperature is because I'm just always, I'm just always cool. Like it doesn't matter. You know, I'm just make it hot. I'm good.
Me too when I'm hot.
The higher the better. So all right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. By the way, if you miss a class, thanks to Jacob Roth over here on the camera, we are recording these and putting them up online. So if you do miss a class, we do not have the first class on there. So Jacob is slacking.
Do you have more books?
I do! I have a more book. So I have one more. I'll make sure I have more for next week. Thank you. So.
We're online.
I'm sorry. Yes! Facebook or YouTube. So if you just search for Crossroads Deaf Ministry, you will find it there. We are putting them up on Facebook and on YouTube. They're both there. There you go. Crossroads Deaf Ministry. It's also a good place to find information about the class. I told you there is a possibility of having to cancel a class later this month or early next month, whenever my wife decides to have her baby. So whenever that happens, one of the classes will be canceled. Maybe. I mean, if the baby's born on a Thursday, then hey, you know, we'll just see. So, but this is a good place to find information, and if that happens, you can also call the church office and check with them. If we do have the baby, I'll make sure I call them and let them know, and they'll be able to tell you correctly. So, but Crossroads Deaf Ministry, Facebook, YouTube, right there. So, there we go. I always feel like it's going to fall apart on me. So, have you all been studying? Yes? Yeah. That's what I want to see. Half and half. Half you all are like, oh, I got this. Yes or no? Some of you sarcastic people are like, no, I'm you know, so some of you are sarcastic. You know, so I got some signs back. Some of you all, you know, are like, we study what? Where am I? So that's fine. So let's run through our ABCs again. You ready? Let's see it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Contrary to what you see in the picture, G is like this, not like this, like this. H. H is like this, back of your hand facing out. I. Make sure your thumb goes in front of your fingers, otherwise it looks a lot like a Y. J. Yep. J. K. Yep. Palm of your hand faces out.
My pinky wanted to stay out from the other.
I know, those pinkies are pesky sometimes. Pesky pinkies, I'm on to something. Start of a tongue twister. L. L, very good. M. 3, because remember, oh, I have a whiteboard here. Remember? It's a cursive M. N. Yep, 2. O. P. P, very good, very good. Q. Q. Yep, Q, very good. R. S. T. W, X, like a pirate hook, Y, Z. Z. Very good. So next we're going to do, let's do 0 to 20. See how well you all remember this. So 0, 1. And remember, 1 through 5 can be done this way or this way. So you can go 1, 2, you know, or 1, 2. Doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, some of you don't remember. 3. Remember, this is not 3 anymore. I'm going to mess with your heads for the rest of your life here on earth. So this is no longer 3. This is 3. Not 3. 3. 3. 4. 5. 6. Very good. This is not 3 because it is 6. 6. And it, little finger, little number, because we're going to hop over next to 7. And then to 8, next finger over. 9. And then 10. Just shake it. Kind of like you're hanging loose without the pinky. 10. 11. 11. Some of you remember this, some of you don't. Come on in.
Now
11.
your hand for sure backwards on that, or?
Yes, always. This one is always facing this way. All the time, no exceptions. 11. 11. 12. 2 fingers. And it does kind of flick off your thumb in the back, so you do want your thumb behind. 13. You're going to stick your thumb out. 13. 13. 14. You're going to put that thumb back in. 14. And then 15. Thumb's coming back out. 15. 15. Like Neo from the Matrix. So, for those of you who are old enough to remember that movie, because I'm sure there are some of you in here who are not. 15. 16. Yeah, make a 6 and you shake it. 17. Make a 7 and you shake it. 18. Make an 8 and you
Shake it.
shake it. You got 3 people. 19.
A 9 and shake it.
Hey, make a 9 and you shake it. So, and then 20. 20 chickens. 20 chickens. 20 chickens. We'll come back around to the numbers. I know we talked about 21 through 29 or 30. We'll come back to those near the end of class. But let's move on and review some of our vocabulary. My name. Very good. My name. My name. So, yep. My name. And some of you all are even more funny when I said my name and I saw Cody out there. So my name. So go ahead and spell your name. All right, I got at least one jokester out there because I did see someone go Y-O-U-R-N-A-M-E. So, but from what I saw was good. Keep practicing your names. So keep practicing spelling your names. Because like I told you, that's going to be the thing that you fingerspell the most is your name. And, you know, it feels good that moment you meet a new deaf person and, you know, they say, what's your name? And you're like, oh, my name is Cody. And then, you know, you're nice and smooth, and then they start signing to you and you get lost. But for just that brief moment, you know, it's all smooth and looks good. So we want that. We want that. We want that win. So, and we'll get you to the rest of it too. But, you know, for that moment though, practice your name, practice finger spelling, just random, whatever you see when you're driving down the road, you know, and you see Walmart, just sit there, Walmart, Walmart. Walmart. Keep one hand on the wheel. You know, you're sitting there. I guess I can't say in class because any of you who are in school are off right now. But when you go back to school, you know, practice in class. You know, sit there and be like, you know, geometry, boring. I mean, whatever. So, what? Yeah, and the teacher will be like, what are you doing? So, Just do it under the desk or something. So, don't do it around deaf people though. They get really confused. So I learned that the hard way. So, so my name, hello. Hello, hi. You can also do hello. This is more formal. Hello. Hi, bye. Phone number, what's phone? Phone. And then number. Number, yep, number, very good. Number. All right, so what is yes? Yep, yes. Yes. There you go. Get excited, put your foot into it. No. Jacob's over there telling himself no. 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 Good. Ah, some of y'all have to think about that one. Good.
Oh, it's here.
Good. Good. Palm facing up. Good. Good. The opposite of which is bad. 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 Bugs are bad, so we squish them. Bad. Bad. I know they're not all bad, but whatever helps you all remember. Arachnids. I hate spiders, I agree. So, spiders are awful. Bad. So, good, bad. Hey, if Indiana Jones can be afraid of snakes, I can be afraid of spiders. It's okay. So, good, bad. How? How?
Oh, wait, there's.
Yeah, you can also do how. You can also do how. How. You can also do how, yes. You can do how. How, or how. All three are fine. So all of these are good. You do how, whatever your heart desires. So, how. I. Yeah, I. I was just doing that so I didn't give it away. I. You. He, she, it. I'll just point off to the side, whichever side you want it to be. So, they. They. Same would be them. How about y'all? Y'all. Y'all. Use guys. So, use guys. Fine. Fine. And not the thing you pay when you speed. That's a different sign. That's fine. Fine. Which is a good one to know, because a lot of deaf people like to make the joke. You go up to, they'll go fine. So I'm kind of fine. It's fine. Anyways, so this is the kind of fine you all want. Fine. Fine. Deaf. Deaf. Deaf.
Does it matter if you go to the ear or to the mouth
No.
first?
It doesn't. You can start here or start here. It doesn't matter. Deaf or deaf. I tend to start here. So if you're copying me, you're going to be doing it this. But I've seen it both ways. There's no one right way. Deaf. Hearing. 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 Because hearing people are always running their mouths. So that's, well, think about it from a deaf person's perspective. You know, when they see hearing people, that's usually what they're doing. That's what they see is them just talk. So, hearing. Which, if you want, this is kind of a side note, but I forgot to include this last week. It's kind of interesting though. One of those things about how languages show how people think of themselves. This is the sign for hearing is also the sign for public, as in like public schools, public works. It's this sign, public. So at least linguistically, from a deaf person's perspective, if it's public, it means it's for the hearing, as opposed to it's for the deaf. Just kind of an interesting little side note. It's really unfortunate to see, but there's a lot of discrimination that goes on against deaf people. So it's unfortunate, especially as an interpreter, I saw it happen. You'd be surprised at how prevalent it still is.
Do you think some of it is just neglectful opposed to intentional?
I think most of it is. I would say most, it's not like they're saying, oh, that deaf person, I don't like them. So where it comes in at is say that there's a boss who's supposed to hire someone, and they got, a deaf person who's qualified and a hearing person who's qualified, maybe even less qualified. I've seen that happen also. You might have a deaf person who's very qualified, and they'll say, yeah, but with this person, then we have to hire interpreters and all that, and which they do. That's the law. Any business over 15 people has to provide interpreters, and that has over 15 employees. I'm sorry. And so then they decide, well, we'll just go with the hearing person because that's easier. And it's also very illegal, but that's how it happens. Come on in. So, but hearing, and the more you get, the more you get to know deaf people, the more and more you see things like that. And it's unfortunate that that's the kind of world we live in. But hey, teaching you all some sign language is, a step in not having that. So, because the more people that know signs, the less that kind of stuff happens. So hearing. That was a long rabbit trail. Let's get which way? This way? Which? Where am I going? Things like that. Which? Not the kind of thing that you eat. It's like this. Which I don't know. Any of you all from like Missouri area, like Springfield? No? Do they have which where you are? Which? They had those. My sister, St. Louis. My sister-in-law lives in Springfield, Missouri, and every time we would go and visit her, they had a restaurant there called Which. It was a sandwich place. It was delicious. I loved it. Is there one in Ohio? Which. So every time we go, that's like one of the places I always want to go to is Which. But anyways, which. So that's all review. Let's hop into the new material. Yes, question?
Quickly, I know we're starting on lesson 3
Mhm.
of these. I think we would try and start making action this exercise. I think some people will do it except without the head.
Yes, exactly. Exactly like that. We'll get there. Do we have other questions? Do we have other questions before I keep moving? I don't want to just steamroll past any questions. Okay, well then if you do have questions, ask away, please. Which is our first sign today. Please. I wish that was on purpose, because that was a really smooth transition. I have to remember that for next time I teach this class. Please. Think like you're rubbing your belly, patting your head, or whatever. Yeah, please. Yeah, please come back. Please. Please. Do we have it in this lesson? No, we don't. Perfect. Do it with an A. It's sorry. Sorry. So please. Sorry. You don't want to get those confused. I mean, it's nothing like weird or anything, but if you get those crossed, then you just look kind of silly. I did that when I started learning sign language. I would start hanging around the deaf kids in my college, and so at the time my girlfriend and I would play ping pong. She's my wife now, same person. Although I like to introduce her as my ex-girlfriend. It makes conversations fun. So we would play ping pong, and the ball would go flying, and then I'd have to go and get it because she always got the side that had the wall behind her. I don't know how that happened either. But anyway, so ball would go flying, I'd have to go get it, and it'd like land by the deaf person, and for the longest time, anytime that happened, I'd have to like interrupt their conversation or whatever. I'd always go, sorry, and I was signing to them please the whole time. And I got to meet that guy, that particular guy I'm thinking of was there one semester, and then he transferred to a different college. And I ran into him a few years later, and he was just, by that time I was signing well. I could communicate pretty well in sign language, and I was talking to him, and he was like, this is so cool, I can actually talk to you now. When I met you way back then, you just couldn't sign at all, and now I'm able to talk to you. You were that weird guy who just kept coming up to me and saying please for some reason. So yeah, you remember me as the please guy. So, but yes, but this is please. Yeah, please. And of course, if you're going to say please, all of you parents know what goes with that. Thank you. We did. I did talk about this because it's with good. Thank you. If you're very thankful, got the facial expressions, got the movement. I'm even adding in another hand. So thank you. So we got please. Oh yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. So, thank you. Thank you. So we got please, we have thank you, and if someone tells you thank you, you have to say, you're welcome. You're welcome. They should write a Disney song. So, you're welcome. Welcome. Now, we didn't talk about possessive pronouns before, so let's talk about them again. So, what is mine? Mine. This is mine. No. Mine. Yours? Yours. Y'alls's. Y'alls's. Our. And yes, I do say it like that. Not the letter, like O-U-R.
There's no abbreviation. No.
R. I do say it like R, like the letter. You know that other people say it different. That's like A-R-E, what you're thinking, but you don't need that sign.
Right,
So,
get rid of that.
yeah, get rid of all that, all those be verbs, all that am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. You don't need those.
What the?
That's are.
Oh.
So like, this is our class. So our.
So you start now from the shoulder?
Yep, you start from the shoulder that's on the same side as your dominant hand. So for most of you all who are right-handed, it'll be your right. If you're left-handed, you'll start on your left. Do it backwards for me. So yours, mine, ours, y'all's, hers, his, its, just pointing off to the side. So it just depends where, theirs, that group over there. So it just depends where you do it. But any kind of possessive pronoun with the open hand pointing out. What? You don't actually have to shake your hand. You just go. You don't shake them, not back and forth like this. They just kind of, what? I know.
So Italian. I grew up in Italy.
You can spell it also. You are right, Michael. So you can also, you will see a lot of times, you'll see me do it also, because I sign that sometimes too. You could spell it real fast, what? So it's really almost like you're just going to a W to a T. That's more of like, you'll see that a lot of times, like if it surprises you, like, what?
No
What?
way.
Yeah, exactly. No way.
What happened to the second one?
Hold on, I'll get there. I'll get to that one. What? What? So you can also do what? What? This is the one you'll see more in just general questions, like, what's your name? Remember we talked about those WH question words? Where did they go? Y'all remember this? I know I mentioned it like once. At the end, very good. At the end of your sentence. So you wouldn't say, what's your name? You would say, your name's what?
We're like Yoda.
Hmm?
We're like Yoda.
Like Yoda, yeah. Yeah, except taller.
Yoda we are.
Yoda, Yoda we be. What? 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 Now, there is, some of you have been exposed to another sign for what, which is what. Has anyone ever seen that one? I know you have. You just mentioned it. I know you have. So, what? What? Yeah, so some of you have seen this one. This is it's an older sign. You don't see it as much. More often when I see this sign is when what is being used not in a question. And that's not a hard and fast rule. That's not true all the time. But most of the time, if what is not a question, you'll see this sign. So, and an example of that would be, that's what I'm talking about. Had what in there, but it was not a question, right? So, that's what I'm talking about. You'll see this sign. But for questions, you will see, most of the time you're going to see this. You'll see this, and less than that, you'll see this one. So, son. So, this one's a little tricky. You start up here, and you come down here. Son. Like a baby. I have one of those.
Chopping a baby
Son.
in half.
What?
If you're chopping a baby in half or whatever.
So you're chopping the baby in half. Whatever helps you remember it. But if you were one of my students at the high school, I'd be emailing the guidance counselor in a few minutes. So son, yes, son. So now daughter is similar, but it's here. Daughter. So that's son. Here's son. Down here is daughter. So pretty much always, male signs are always going to be done up here. Female signs are always going to be done down here. So that rule is pretty much true all the time. So you have son, daughter. Our next one's really simple. Mom. Mom. Anyone want to take a guess at dad? Yeah, dad. Dad. Mom, dad. Son, daughter. If you see a sign up here, probably some way related to a male. Yes.
Dad, mom, or parent.
Yes. Yes. For parents, you do dad and mom. Or you can do it with a P, parents.
Oh, okay.
Parents. You can do parents or parents if it's both of them. Yes. Question? Okay, I thought I had any. Do we have any questions? Because there's not one sign for parents. It's just parents, or you do parents with a P. Parents.
So you're just making the P letter and then
Yep.
going from here to here?
Exactly, and that's what we call an initialized sign. So there are some like that, but not all of them. Another example would be like uncle. It's the sign for uncle, uncle. And aunt would be like down here with an A. U. Yeah, a U and an A. Yes.
What's brother?
Brother.
Because one of my students was signing, he has a new little brother, and
Brother,
Yeah, so brother. Now,
brother,
brother and sister, you see a lot of variations with those because the older sign was boy, this is boy, boy same. That's the old sign. Boy same. Have you seen that one before? Okay. That's what you do. Yeah, it's not wrong. It's just it's kind of morphed into just being this. So it was boy same. Boy same. Boy same. Actually, interestingly enough, son used to be boy baby. Boy baby, and daughter was girl baby. Girl baby. And you'll still see some deaf people sign that. Just most of the time you'll see son, daughter, boy, girl, but brother. Brother, I mean, you're not wrong. Brother, sister.
Ethan's getting a kick out of it because you're showing our age, because he
Oh.
knows if we're over.
Is that how they sign it?
Yes.
That's kind of
Over 40, we learned the old way.
Hey, there's nothing wrong. It's not wrong. I mean, there are plenty of deaf people in our church that sign it exactly like that. But even they will say like, yeah, that's the old sign. You know, even they'll just be like, yeah, I just use the old sign. I mean, that's what I grew up using. I just old sign. So.
And we transition a lot. We've learned a lot of the newer stuff.
Yes.
But, again, they understand it the same,
Mm-hmm.
and so don't feel bad,
Exactly. I'm trying to think in my head real quick about a good comparison in English where
Ooh.
there might be an older word, but you still understand it, but it's just not.
AOL.
AOL. Yeah, if someone now says, let me get on AOL, we know that they're really not getting out their little disk anymore and putting that into the computer and connecting to the phone line. Hope not. So, but I mean,
So old.
it's an old word, but we still know what it means. So, just I don't know, I'm trying to think of one that we might still see a lot. I don't know, but that's the idea though. It's an older sign, but people will still understand you. They won't be like, oh, I have no idea what they're saying. You'll still be understood just fine. There was another thing I wanted to add about the older signs. God, it escaped me. I'll remember it later, I'm sure. Probably as I'm driving home, I'll be like, that was it! So.
You always notice stuff the craziest times.
I know. For me, it's I always remember stuff like when I don't need it anymore. So, all the time. So, son, daughter, Mom, Dad is on the next page. Dad. And then one that just came up, age and old. Age and old. Yeah, like big beard, old man. And you're ripping it off, the violence. So, I was thinking like you're just pulling it down. Old. 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 So now, this actually leads me to a good grammatical point in ASL. When you're talking about ages, so so first let's get the sign year out of the way. Year.
Old.
Year. Year. So you can do 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, yes.
Is there a sign if you go the opposite direction by accident?
No. No, it just looks like you're signing year backwards. So, year. So you do not sign though that someone is 5 years old. You don't need to do that. You just go to they are 5 years old. Just start right here, 5 years old. Sometimes you'll see it just old 5. Or you'll see it all just combined into one, 5 years old.
What did you tell me again? I was,
Old or age.
okay.
So you could sign that they are old 5
Oh,
or aged 5. Or you could just start with the 5 here and go 5 years old.
Do you know why a lot of stuff originates from the chin and stuff? Like, I know a lot of our signs,
No,
and it's all you kind of like, is there a reason, like why a lot of it?
not really.
Okay.
It's a good place. There are two categories. Actually, you're going to get me off on a little tangent right
Sorry.
now, but that's okay. No, don't be sorry. I love my tangents. So, I love doing this. I promise it'll be informative. There are two categories you will see of signs. One is called iconic, and one is called arbitrary. So, iconic signs, they like an icon. It looks like what it represents. So, an example of that would be fishing. Fishing. Girl is an example of that. Anyone want to take a guess at what that's supposed to represent? Who's not Jacob? Yes?
Bonnet.
A bonnet, yes. A bonnet, it's like a little bonnet string.
Now that's old.
Yeah.
It is, yes, I'll get to that in a second. Boy is also iconic, it's a
A
baseball
ball
hat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So those are iconic, and then there's arbitrary signs, and those just, there's no reason for it. Dad. You know, someone a long time ago just thought,
Rooster.
who's that guy? And a deaf kid went, Dad, and they were like, okay, that sign's Dad. Perfect. Rooster's with 3 though, rooster.
Ah.
So, but you're close, rooster. Yeah, you want to make sure you get that right. Dad with a 5, rooster with a 3. Yeah, that's an important distinction. That handshake is important. Dad, rooster. So now, how all this got started though was around. It was in like the 1800s. I don't think it was the 70s. It was the 1800s. There was like no kind of real deaf education in America. Guy left from New England, went over to England to try to get a teacher to start a school for the deaf because his neighbor had a deaf girl, and he's like, oh, I can't teach her. And actually, he was a ordained pastor, and he wanted to be able to teach her the Bible. He couldn't because she didn't have any language. So he went over to England. They were pretty much like, oh yeah, we'll teach you how to teach deaf people, but you got to stay here for a long time and pay us. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So he went to France. You know, they were all like, oh, this is great. Here, take a teacher with you. And so him and a deaf teacher from France came over here. They took French Sign Language and whatever home signs the kids were using, because they had signs, just they were, you know, stuff at home, you know, whatever they just came up with, they would use that. And so they took that, and the Native Americans also had a sign language they used to trade between tribes. They took some of that, some of their home signs, some of French Sign Language, put it all together, and that became American Sign Language.
Hodgepodge.
It kind of is, yeah. So at least it was. I mean, it's kind of, things have morphed over time. But that's where a lot of these arbitrary signs, it could be from anywhere. It could be from something from French, like, you know, this is a good example. This sign is search. And do we have anyone in here who knows French? Okay, good, because I'm going to butcher this word. So, the word for search in French is like share something another. It starts with a C. That's why we sign search like this, because the French word starts with a C. So some of those things that seem kind of random, they do have a root somewhere. Search, you think, yeah, search, looking for something. So that's a whole lot of off-topicness. But it's interesting stuff, and it's good for you all to know. It's good to know this stuff. You're learning sign language, you know, you should be like, oh yeah, at least you know that ASL is from French Sign Language. So, and that's a big reason that American Sign Language and British Sign Language can't even understand the Chin. So you mean someone, I met a guy who was, he moved here from England, he was deaf, learning ASL, but he already knew British Sign Language. And his signs, I had a hard time understanding the guy, even when he spelled two-handed, couldn't understand any of it. You know, we sign food, they sign food, which I kind of like that, but, you know, it's weird. And then, you know, you get to like every country's got their own sign language anyway, so even like, you know, Mexico has a different sign language than Peru. You know, it just complicates things, makes it more fun. So, all that to say, old age. Let's get back on topic now. But I don't know why so much of it starts at the chin though, it just does. So let's do some of these practice sentences and we'll pop back over to our numbers and work on those a little bit. So my son is 6 years old.
Oh, do we do son, liar, so son,
There you go. All right, some of you all got it after a few times.
What is year?
You don't need it. You don't, no. Remember how we talk about ages? Yeah, he's 6 years old.
Oh,
Old
six.
He died.
My son? 6 years old.
But you can do like this too if you want.
You do old 6, so you were doing it the wrong way. You're doing 6 old. So old 6. Old 6. Old 6. So you can do it like that, but I don't mean to like single you out or anything, I promise. So, but when you were practicing it, and I saw other people make this mistake too, you did 6 old.
Yes.
It should be old 6.
Old 6.
Old 6. So like my son is 6 years old. My son, 6 years old, is 0. He's 0. If you're talking about months and you sign like 3 months, you know, 3 days, pretty soon I'm gonna have a little baby. I'm excited. I love little babies. They're so much fun. They don't really do anything, but you know. Yes.
Just personally, you probably already answered this, but do you know the gender?
Yes, we're having a girl.
Yeah.
So we're having a little girl.
He's trying to relate to, yes.
The name. The name. You want to know the name, see me after class. I won't derail class too much more talking about my babies. But we do have a name. I'll share it after class if you're interested. So we haven't put it out on Facebook or anything, so I don't want to just, and he's recording right now and that's going to go on Facebook, so I don't want to get in trouble with my wife. I know what's good for me.
Thought he was smart man.
No, I know, I just learned the hard way.
Smart man.
I got an education from school, hard knocks. So, what is your daughter's name? Look at you, you were on that. I forgot that was the next one. Some of you forgot where those WH questions go. You forgot where WH question was going. So, alright, I'm seeing 2 big mistakes from a lot of people. I shouldn't say mistakes, but anyways, I'm seeing 2 things just to look out for. Your, not your. I see a lot of people going your, and you want to do the what at the end. So your daughter's name, what?
Yoda.
Your daughter's name, what? Someone just say Yoda?
Yoda.
Is it really?
Because he's always had, so, no, so it's.
You're talking, okay, I was like, you named your daughter Yoda?
So is my son 6 years old, should be my at the end too, or does that still?
No, because it's not a WH question word.
Oh, the WH.
It's the WH question word.
Like wedge and stuff.
That's it, yes. Which sounds like a really narrow thing, but we use them a lot. You don't realize how much you use the
Yeah.
WH question
Okay,
words. Especially when you're learning the language. Your.
Why do you want to, I thought you said you just pulled it.
That's you. No, you're fine. Your. We've literally this is only our 3rd class learning a whole new language. I don't expect you all to be like, you know, to be signing it perfectly. It's fine. We're learning it together. So your daughter's name, what? Now my daughter who is born, who's 2, her name's Hunter. Like the sunglasses. So that's not why we named her that. That is her name. It actually, though, it's kind of nice, because anytime we're in a mall or anywhere that has an Oakley store, she's always like, you know, my son's always like, look, it's your name on the store! And he gets all, I want a store with my name on it. So, it is. So, all right. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Ethan, flipping the grammar around.
Oh, parents.
Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, parents. Ooh, look at that. Using those
I cheated from her.
You're not supposed to say that. You're just supposed to say, well, thank you. I knew all that by myself. So, thank you, Mom and Dad. It's not wrong to also sign, Mom, Dad, thank you. We will see as we go along with this. As far as languages go, if you haven't figured this out yet, this is its own language. We're dealing with a different language here, not English anymore. So languages just across the board have a varying degree of flexibility. In college, I went to school for theology. I was required to take 2 years of Greek, like the New Testament Greek. And their sentence structure is very loose because the ends of the words, you know, will tell you if it's the subject or the object or all of that. That's all at the end of the word. So you can put whatever you want in the front. Usually they would do it for emphasis. So if they're emphasizing something, they put it at the front or at the end. And they can flip those words any which way and the sentence still makes sense. ASL is not that loose, but it is more loose than English. So you could say, Mom, Dad, thank you, or thank you, Mom and Dad. So, and both are fine. Whereas in English, I guess the one is still okay. Mom, Dad, thank you. It's not wrong, but it just sounds kind of awkward. So, but in ASL, you can do it both ways and you're fine. So it depends. So, their dad's name is Brian. Yeah, it is.
What? There does need.
Their dad's name?
Brian.
So Brian. So then you spell it. Yeah, I want to see how spell it.
R-I-A-N.
Yes.
Brian.
Very good. So there, remember, I saw some of you go there or there. You want to be careful with that because this is not really there. This is y'all's. This is there. Their dad's name. Brian. Wait, did we sign the is? No. No! Very good. So their dad, blah, blah, blah. Their dad's name.
It shouldn't even be printed on the paper.
Brian. I'm sorry?
Right?
Like if we don't sign it, it should just be left out.
Well, I still put it there because it would be improper English then.
I know, but still.
See, that's the thing though, is I'm trying to change your mindset. So interpret, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. This is it's the kind of thing that interpreters get together at workshops and practice dropping the English is what they like to call it. So interpreters, this is literally something that professional interpreters, people who use this, do it for a living every day, get together and discuss in workshops and try to improve at doing. So don't think, you know, whatever your native language is, that's still going to be in your mind, but you want to get to the point where you can just work on not thinking like that, if that makes any sense at all. If not, stick with sign language, and I promise it will. So, hello, my name is blank.
You're crazy.
Tell her, I'm not crazy, I'm Michael. So, all right, very good. Like I said, I told you all this at the beginning of class. Your work at your finger spelling is noted. So, good job. I'm seeing good job with your finger spellings. I like how that's going. So, do we have any questions about that before we hop back over to the numbers?
So it's really like using broken English.
I would not think of it. The grammar, if you were just to write it out, does sound like broken English, yes. But it's better to think of it as like good ASL instead of broken English. Because it really is, as far as ASL goes, it's done right. But I mean, if that kind of helps you think of the grammar, then you can think of it like that too. It's like a broken kind of English grammar. It's just not the same as English, it's just different. Just like in Spanish, you know, they say, well, we do the same thing at ASL too. But anyone here know some Spanish?
Please.
I know, yeah. You thought, thought mine was a Spanish class at school. I know muy poquito español because I grew up in South Florida, that's about it. So I know just enough to know when people are saying mean things to you, that's about it. So, but in Spanish though, you always put the adjectives after the noun.
Right.
So you don't say the red car, you say the car red. And I shouldn't have used that example because I don't know the sign for car, or the word for car in Spanish. Yeah, I am not going to roll my R. So we'll use White House, Casablanca, White House. We actually do the same thing in ASL because we're from French Sign Language. So you sign the house white. It's the same thing, but just the same. It doesn't make the Spanish one wrong. They're just different. That's how they do it. So, all right, numbers. Let's hop back over to numbers real quick. And we have another class ready to get in, so I'll finish in a couple minutes. So, what was we'll start with 15. 15.
Not me, Neo.
What?
Not me.
Actually, it's Neo who does that. So, 16. 16. Make a 6 and you shake it. 16. 16. Yep. 17. Yep, you shake it. 18. Make it 8. You shake
Shake
it.
it all of that.
19. Make a 9 and you
Shake
shake it. For extra credit. Not that I have grades or anything, but for extra credit. Does anyone remember the other ways to sign 16, 17, 18, 19?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Is it like that?
Yes, you're right. So you could also do 16, 17, 18, 19. You could also do 16, 17, 18, 19. Or you could do it the easy way and just go 16, 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
But it's still good to know the different ways. And I remember what I forgot earlier. I knew I would remember. So I was just going to say it's good to know the different ways. Because when I was an interpreter, when you're like if you're an interpreter, if any of you ever have dreams of becoming an interpreter, I'm sure I'll talk more about that in the future too. But interpreters, your job is you have to match however that deaf person signs. So I had a college student one time from New York, and everyone who's normal signs divide, for like math. It was a math class, divide. For some reason, their signs in New York is divide. I've never seen that. I had never used it before, and I have never used it again except as examples. But when I was interpreting for that student, my sign was divide. So I was going to match whatever her signs were because my goal was to be understood by her. That's all that was important. So that's what you do. You need to know these different signs because if you're interpreting, you need to use them. Now for us, just learning sign language, you're good.
What is this?
I don't want to start this discussion.
I only say that because it came up when we were at DVFA in Chicago 2 weeks ago.
They said I was right? No.
No, but there's a girl from Louisiana that we went to college with, and she and I, of course I'm Florida, she's Louisiana, we do it this way, and when she moved to Michigan with her husband, they laughed at her.
It's true. So, real quick about that sign. This sign, for me, I sign garbage, trash. Apparently, in our deaf ministry, everybody else signs lettuce. They would give me, lettuce.
Cabbage.
Yeah, or
You
cabbage.
go from garbage to lettuce.
Yeah, they would give me really weird looks. I'd say, hey, I'd say, hey, where are the cabbage bags? So they all sign garbage. But I use this for baskets or bag.
Right.
So I flip them. I don't know. It's not something that I do different. There are areas where they
It's
sign it
regional,
like that. It's
yeah.
a regional variation. We sign grass. We had a guy in our deaf ministry here from North Carolina who signed truck. So there's a lot of regional differences. So let's run through these numbers real quick and then I'll get you all out of here. So 20. 20. Yep, 21. 21. 22. 22. Double numbers bounce. 23. 23. And so you're going to make it 3. Remember 3, not 3. 3. And wiggle your middle finger. 23. 24. You're going to do a 2 like this. And then a 4. 24.
The numbers are confusing.
Yes.
Gotta work on numbers.
It's okay, we'll keep practicing. 24. 25. You're gonna make a 5? We're gonna these 2 fingers. 25. Spider-Man. So, or like this is I love you. You think like, you know, love is waving goodbye. Ain't no lie. Okay, anyways. Great, I just did that. That's gonna go in. Great. So 25. 25. That's gonna be all of y'all are gonna be going out like, oh, let's get it again. 25. 25. So 26, the weird 2 and a 6. 27, the weird 2 and a 7. 28, weird 2 and an 8. 29, the weird 2 and a 9. And then I'm thinking in my head 30 already. 30, 30.
Oh,
30,
well, that makes
30.
sense.
Stops getting as weird after that. 30. All right, we're going to go ahead and pray and dismiss so we have time for the next class to come in. So thank you all very much. Do we have any final quick questions? Yes.
How do I say I'm 14?
Me? 14. Yep. Put your thumb in, otherwise you're saying 15. So, all right. Quick question. Yes. So, dear Lord Father, thank you for this class. I pray, help us to be faithful students, Lord. Thank you for giving us this